Well, it's time for playoffs in the National Football League, and it's time to make some playoff predictions. And this is my video here where I sit here and predict everything. I talking about the wild card round, divisional round, championship round, Super Bowl. Um, a couple of surprises, but not necessarily to me. The two teams that I was the hottest on for the entire year, and especially before the season even started, are the two teams I'm still hot on now. So my Super Bowl may be quite a bit different than a lot of other people's Super Bowls. But anyways, let's start off with the AFC. The two wild card matchups. I think the Colts beat the Chiefs, and I think the Bengals beat the Chargers. Last time I remember the Chargers making the playoffs 8-8, they beat Peyton Manning, didn't they? Darren Sproles had a big day, whatever the case might be, but I think the Bengals are too good. I think the Colts have the right formula, especially playing at home, and they just beat the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. I think the Chiefs are one and done. Nice season for them, but eh. And even if they did happen to win, they'd have to go play Denver in Mile High, a team they've already lost to twice. As far as the NFC on the wild card side, I'm going to take Green Bay over San Francisco in what could be a historically cold game. Even though the 49ers are a team that is built very well to play in cold weather conditions, they are still a warm weather West Coast team having to go to a very potentially frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. As a result, I'll take the Packers, and I'll take the Eagles over the Saints. The Saints are boo-boo on the road. The Eagles run the football really, really well. Weather there could also be a big issue, and I think that favors the Eagles. Now we move on to the divisional round. I think the Bengals beat the Patriots and the Broncos beat the Colts. I can't believe I'm actually picking Peyton Manning to win a playoff game, but that is it, just a playoff game. His reputation over the years clearly precedes him, and therefore he clearly does not deserve to be picked to win multiple playoff games. Just my opinion. When you look at the Denver and Indianapolis matchup, Indy's already beat Denver earlier this year, but that was in Indy. That was in the house that Peyton Manning built that Andrew Luck now runs that bitch. I don't think the Colts could go into Denver, into Mile High, and beat the Denver Broncos. I just don't think that suits them very well. As far as the Bengals beating the Patriots, the Bengals already beat the Patriots earlier this year. If it's cold and crappy up at Foxborough, the Bengals can adjust. They're a Midwest team. That's not anything out of their elements. I just think the Patriots are ripe for the picking and ripe for the upset here in the divisional round because now more Gronkowski, wide receivers hurt, defense has a lot of injuries. At some point in time, that's eventually going to catch up to them. I think it will. And I think it catches up to them. They'll be one and done. As far as the AFC Championship game, I'm taking the Bengals over the Denver Broncos. The Bengals, to me, have some explosive firepower on offense with A.J. Green and then other guys like Marvin Jones. You've got Eifert and Gresham, a couple of nice tight ends. You've got Gio Bernard and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. And then you've got a really, really good defense at all three levels: the line, the linebacking core, and the secondary. I think they're a more balanced, more complete team than Denver, whereas Denver is definitely a much more offense reliant organization. And the problem is for a team that's so reliant on their offense is at some point in time that offense is going to have a bad day. It will happen, especially in the playoffs, and especially if your quarterback is Peyton Manning. As a result, what happens if you play a team that can out physical you, that could slow the game down, and hold your offense in check to maybe 20 points or so? What are you going to do? Denver doesn't have the type of defense, even playing at home, that's going to be able to win games for them in the playoffs. At least I don't think. So I'm taking the Bengals to be the AFC representative for the Super Bowl. It's who I thought it would be before the season. Hell, I was talking about this crap last year back in January. So I'm sticking with it. As far as the NFC, I think Seattle beat Green Bay. I don't think there's any way Green Bay can go into Seattle and beat Seattle. I think Philadelphia beats Carolina. Carolina doesn't have a lot of playoff experience, neither does Philadelphia necessarily. But I think Philadelphia has the ability to score more points at times. Yeah, their defense isn't nearly as good as Carolina's. But the problem for Carolina is if Foles is able to pass on him early, or if Shady McCoy is able to run on him early, you kind of run into the issue of the Panthers not being able to score a ton of points, not being able to keep up. And I think the Carolina Panthers have had a great season, but I think it'll end in the divisional round when they lose to the Eagles. Then we get to the NFC Championship game. We've got the Seahawks and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles having to go to Quest Field with the 12th man to play Seattle. Yikes. Could be an interesting, intriguing matchup, but there's no way, again, that I'm picking anybody other than Seattle. That's just the way it is. And especially in the NFC Championship game with everything on the line, they'll be ready to play. Philly could give them a good fight, and I'm giving Philly a lot of credit here. This was a team before the season that I did say I thought would finish second in that division right behind the Cowboys, and thought maybe, just maybe they had a chance to win that division. And now I've got them pegged to win 2 playoff games. Not bad for Chip Kelly's first go-around as an NFL head coach. Flat out. But I'll take the Seahawks. As far as right now what my Super Bowl pick would be, the Bengals and the Seattle Seahawks. Super Bowl 48 is in New York in February. Could mean very cold, very crappy, very, very crappy conditions. Could mean snow, could be all types of things. But these are conditions that both of these teams could be well equipped to play in. The Seahawks are a defense, physicality, run the football type of team. And in a lot of ways, the Cincinnati Bengals, are a defense, run the football, physicality football team. It ultimately comes down to who I think is more equipped to win. And at the end of the day, I could maybe draw some similarities between Andy Dalton and Joe Flacco. Perhaps. But on the one hand, I could sit there and see where Andy Dalton might be able to get hot and not make any mistakes, and the Bengals go on a deep run. At this point in time, however, I think Russell Wilson's a better quarterback. I think the Seahawks have a little bit more of a dominant defense, and with that better quarterback who's less likely to make big mistakes and can make more of an impact in several aspects of the game and not just as a pocket passer. Not saying Dalton can't run at all, but he's not nearly the weapon with his feet that a Russell Wilson is. At this point in time, I'll take the Seattle Seahawks to beat the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl. And it's funny because that was my pick 5 months ago, and I'm sticking with it. At least I could say both of my teams that I was picking for the Super Bowl at least actually made the playoffs. It's a good start. So let's see how this goes. Let me know your playoff predictions down below. And we'll go against each other and see who finishes off better head-to-head.